G'day all, it's me, Hef again from Epic Rides and Tours Sidecar Adventures. Today a nice simple job to be done, but again, if you've never done it, it might be useful to you. What we intend to do is to flush the front brake on Swampy. And if you didn't know before, I'll tell you now. Swampy is our 2011 Ural tourist. She has old style drum brakes for the rear and sidecar wheels, but up the front there's a Brembo disc brake. So this is pretty much identical to what we would do on any other Ural that has the disc brakes. There's very little difference. Later on I'll have a look at Dusty, because she has a hydraulic brake for both the rear and sidecar wheels as well as the front wheel. Won't need to show you the front wheel because it's identical to Swampy, but the rear wheel and the sidecar wheel is just a tad different. Anyway, without further ado, the garage is here. Yep, right in front of us. And there's our Swampy waiting patiently to be fixed up. Be back. So this is pretty much the same for both of the bikes, the 2011 and the 2021. Take the cap off and be very careful not to spill any brake fluid on your paint. If you didn't already know, you need to know that brake fluid is a very potent paint remover. So these screws are quite long. There we go, and a very fine thread. Right, off comes the cap, and in this case with it comes that little plastic doohickey which keeps this in place. Now I'm going to call it a bellows. I have no idea what the real name of it is, doesn't matter. Its job is to sit there and equalize air pressure within the reservoir here. As the amount of fluid in the reservoir goes down because the brakes are wearing, there's a pressure change between here and inside of the reservoir, and this little thing goes down to maintain an even pressure on the brake fluid. So that can come out. You can have a look in. I don't know if in this light you're going to be able to see it, but that's the old brake fluid in there. And I'm going to now flush it all through with nice new clean hydraulic fluid, brake fluid, what you want to call it. And then I will obviously have to test it to make sure that there's no air has gotten into the system. And as I say, this is the same procedure for both bikes. Alright, you can see, or should be able to see, the little receptacle jar there, the brake bleed hose, which has here a one-way valve fitted, so that when you flush fluid through the system, it doesn't suck back air. So I think it's a 9mm spanner. No, it's an 8mm. There you go. And this is going to be really tight. Just take the edge off it, and then crack it a little bit and start pumping at the handbrake end. If you feel any resistance, loosen the bleed nipple up a wee bit more. Right, now tighten it off with the handle fully retracted. Yep, that feels good. Then carefully get up from your kneeling position and top up the fluid reservoir, which in this case is very nearly empty. Rightio, so that's the sight glass. I actually find it very difficult to read without using a torch, and that's well above the minimum. That's actually a totally full reservoir, so yep, good. Okie dokie. Just wipe off any spare brake fluid from around the top of the reservoir, because you're going to have a problem if you don't. Drop in the bellows like so. Then the plastic doohickey, and then the actual cover, and screw in the screws. Oh dear. And just give that a few squeezes to ensure that the brakes are firm. You'll also notice that if there's any air in the system, the brakes will get firmer and firmer the more that you operate them. So that's a good way to make sure that you haven't pumped some air in somewhere. That's about it, folks. Yibbity yibbita. Well, that was easy, wasn't it? No serious problems there. Just the one thing that I recommend to anyone is to get hold of that brake bleed tube with the one-way valve in it. I've always had one. The first one disappeared after I'd had it for about 35 years. And this one behind me I bought a good 5 or 6 years ago. It's not hard to keep them. Put them inside an old jam jar with a little bit of hydraulic or brake fluid in there, and they should last forever, as long as you can remember where you stored them in between brake flushes. Anyway, this is the end of the video, bar one thing. You should get a card coming up if I've got YouTube sorted out right, with a subscribe button in the picture. So please, if you like what we do, if you think we're useful or we might be useful to somebody else, please like the video so I know what is likable, and subscribe to the channel, please. That's always a nice thing. I'll get up in the mornings and it's the first thing I'll look for. No, honestly, it's always nice to see that the subscribers number has gone up. At least it means somebody out there is watching, and it's not all crickets and tumbleweed. The weekend is that way. Beer o'clock. Have a good one, people, and see you next time.